the first thing that we really need to look at is how do we take on any new lead source? And I think this is a fantastic way to just do a nice overview of everything that we need to be able to know, to be able to do, everything we need to learn so that we can actually become powerful and effective with every lead source. And I don't care if this is just listed, just sold, FSBO, expired. I don't care what it is. Or if you go, somehow you decide you don't want to do any prospecting for real estate agents, you never want to work with my outdesk again, and if you go get a new sales job and you have to sell a new product, this same thing applies. Everything is the same. As you guys know, I've trained real estate agents. I've had my own in-house sales team where we've sold real estate agents. I've managed 20 to 30 in-house salespeople at the same time. I've coached and trained, thousands and thousands of real estate agents. All the different lead sources from internet to FSBO, expired to past client center of influence, you name it, I've done it. And so I see that there's really just 7 critical ingredients for you to create mastery. And when I talk about mastery, what I'm referring to in mastery is, your ability to be able to create results every single time that you get going with that particular lead source. That's mastery. So, if I'm, Carlo and your boss says, "Hey, I want you to take on this list. I just got this list from here." You'll go, "All right, cool." You'll have your series of here's what I need to do. Boom, get it set up and go crush it. For those of you, guys, most of you are already really strong with the just listed, just sold, and now you're taking on that next one. Let's say the FSBO, you're taking on the expired, you're taking on the database. You're getting handed different lead sources. Well, we've got some work to do. So, point number 1 is we got to create an empowered mindset. And this is so critical. What I've noticed is we get these negative thoughts going and we get some of these limiting beliefs happening. So, for example, like I know right now for Chris, I already know what Chris's negative thoughts are regarding the just listed and the just sold. So, Chris, can you just share with the group already what's happened? What are the negative thoughts and limiting beliefs you have already created around just listed and just sold? Go ahead. I'm putting her on the spot, by the way. Now, the negative thoughts and the limiting beliefs that you've created already, your opinion about the just listed and just sold. What's your straight, blunt opinion about just listed, just sold? So hold on, stop. So see, that's perfect. See, can you guys hear that she's already created a limiting belief, which says it's like picking a needle out of a haystack. So can you guys see that that's already ingrained in her mind? And she's got a series of negative thoughts already about it. Okay, and I just, and all of you, for the average real estate agent, it's 10 times worse. They already have all these negative opinions and beliefs associated with each lead source. And so they've got them in their head. Those things stop you from taking action powerfully, and that's not an empowered mindset. So how do we create an empowered mindset? Well, one thing is to get clear about the long-term payoff. Okay, long-term payoff is 2 things. Number 1 is for you. The long-term payoff is, hey, I will master this particular lead source. That lead source should lead to blank number of listings over the course of the year. And if I can get that, then, maybe there's some incentive with my boss. I have an incentive set up with Chris that, if we get, for every listing, she gets blank. And so the long-term payoff of this just listed, just sold is I expect to get 6 listings out of that prospecting. So one way to maintain an empowered mindset when you go into the lead source is maybe think about the long-term payoff to get yourself inspired into action. The next thing is creating an empowered context. So, what do I mean by this? This is a big topic. So Chris already has a negative context. The negative context, which is basically a belief, she basically is saying it's like a needle in a haystack. It's like cold calling is really what you're telling me. And so that's it. That's not an empowering belief system. That's an actual negative belief system. It'll slow you down. You'll have a less expectation. Your attitude about it is a little bit jaded. Your energy level goes down. So now we're not in a really good space. And then she gets one call to hang up. Oh, see, it's just a needle in the haystack. Talks to another person. Oh, nope, see, they weren't it. Then all of a sudden you start building all this evidence as you move along. And then when she finally does get someone that probably was motivated, she was in such a negative spiral that she actually completely misses that opportunity. Can you guys see how that would happen all the time when you're prospecting? So how do we create an empowered context or an empowered belief around just listed, just sold? And so the empowered context I keep trying to deliver to you guys, and that is, hey, this information is valuable to the neighbors. You know what? This is important information. You know, every neighbor actually wants to know the value of their home. See, that's an empowering context. And, you know, every neighbor should appreciate the fact that, you know, a real estate agent in their community is spending a lot of money to hire someone to be able to deliver this service of either a home evaluation report, you know, information about prices. And so I'm saying that that has a lot of value and people should respect that. Can you see that that's a new empowering context versus it's a needle in a haystack, it's a cold call, I'm going to have to rip through a shitload of these just to get anything. Do you see how that works, you guys? And it's something that we have to monitor and work on all the time. Would you guys agree with me on that? Yep. Cool. The next thing to create an empowered mindset is we've got to establish a pre-prospecting routine, right? Something that gets us fired up. So, you know, I know for me, I'm just starting in contacting the expireds, and I just set up the mojo and I got everything dialed in now. So, you know, this afternoon I'll be hitting some expireds. You know, but before I go into those expireds, I know that I already have because I haven't prospected in a while, I got a little bit of nervousness going, like, ooh, right? You know, and then I'm like, oh, what am I going to say? And, you know, and I got all this like little awkwardness rolling. So what should I do? Should I just kind of take my awkwardness and press the button and go? Or should I maybe, you know, review some of my gratitudes? Should I review my goals, my long-term goals? Review, you know, what my objective is with this particular lead source. You know, review, you know, some affirmations, you know, about really, you know, that I'm a powerful, you know, salesperson. You know, I'm a great prospector. I'm effective over the phone. You know, I'm alive. I'm excited. I'm full of energy. Yes, 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 yes. Maybe get a little bit of music going just to kind of get the energy up. All right, boom. Now let's go hit the phone. So which one do you think is effective? Just kind of getting over your fear and hurdle and uncomfortableness and just dialing, or going from this new state of empowerment? What do you guys think? Obviously, new state of yeah. So a little pre-prospecting routine is hugely valuable for creating an empowered mindset. And then the last thing is something that I learned at the prospecting school, and that is to come with the gratitude for the opportunity, right? So instead of just being like, oh God, prospecting, you know, and you know, I experienced that a lot with real estate agents, and just every prospector, any telemarketer had to deal with that. But you know, the truth is, if we flip to the other side, the gratitude side, the truth is, guys, we get to kind of, you know, kick back at home. We just dial, you know, we have these systems that just dial numbers for us. We just talk to people have a conversation. Some of them are rude, some of them are short, some of them are interesting, some of them are crazy, and we get paid to just kind of kick back and talk to people about, selling real estate. That's kind of cool. But so you can see that coming from the gratitude of the opportunity, when I get into that state, what does that do for me? It drives the energy up. I feel good. You know what? This is kind of awesome. Versus, oh God, I hope this coffee is really strong. Okay. Do we all need to step up our game with empowering our mindset? What's the answer? Yeah. Okay. I want you to really, write down that, negative thoughts and limiting beliefs. That's a critical thing. And the new empowering context, the prospecting routine, the gratitude. Okay. So let's take a look at the next thing I wrote down is, if we want to really master a lead source, we've got to understand the prospect to a high degree. And if you were to get a powerful, like a big job in marketing, in the marketing world, let's say you were to work for like AT&T in marketing. Well, they would do all kinds of research to try and really understand the prospect in a big way so that all of their marketing messages were connecting quickly and effectively with their potential clients. And they'd spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to try and understand their prospect. So for us, it's critically important too. And the thing that I want to make sure is I want you guys to really understand the value of the service that you're offering. That's to me the key to this whole thing. But also with some of the prospects is understanding, well, what do they think about the service? Because as you go and you talk to for sale by owners, well, what's the value of our service? Well, we've talked a lot about how, all the stats show that we can get them more money, but what does the for sale by owner believe about our service? They actually think that they're saving money and that we're kind of like a blood-sucking vampire, that we're trying to get them. So if I understand the fact that they think I'm a blood-sucking vampire, then I can approach them in a different manner and really come from a place of service. That's a totally different game. So the more I understand how the prospect perceives the service, the better I can make, the easier it is to approach them in an effective manner. Okay. The next one is, what experiences may they have had, and are they've been negative? So, for example, when you're doing the just listed and just sold, one of the things that I told you guys is the public is actually not used to this service. It's not something that happens all the time. So even though we know in our hearts and in our mind that the value of the service we're offering is amazing, and we're doing something really valuable to all the community and to everybody in play, but the experience that the average homeowner has is like, whoa, what is this? But it's not negative, they're just not used to it. So if I go in with the expectation, wow, they're going to love everything, not really, but you're going to get, of course, a couple calls where people are like, thanks so much, which is so valuable and interesting. Okay. What experience would have them be excited about the call? Is there any opportunity, any information that would create a positive experience for these guys? What do they want and may not realize yet? And this is really with the expireds. We know with the expireds, what they want is they want someone to completely recharge their whole plans. But they don't realize that yet. They're kind of in the state of, we're done, we're over this, we're just going to either go down the same path that we were going, or we're going to just stop altogether. What they don't realize is that we are trying to recharge them into a new plan that's going to actually get it done this time. But they don't realize that yet. And the last thing is the personality types. is, there's definite different personality types going on. I find with the for sale by owners, it's a lot of drivers, a lot of analyticals, right? I don't think that there's any common denominator with an expired, but I think just for all of us, we need to do a way better job of paying close attention to the personality type of the person we're talking to, because that determines really how we're going to close on them. So it's not only understanding the whole picture of the lead source, but it's also understanding the personality type. So we got a lot of work to do there. Let's go to the next one. The skills that pay the bills, baby. Yeah. And this is where all the work, where we do most of the work. But without the first two, I got to tell you, when the first two are really there, you can actually totally screw up your script, not even say anything right, and for some reason it works. When the mindset's totally in a great spot and your understanding is in a great spot, for some reason you actually just say all the right stuff anyways. It's amazing. But critical skill number one is understanding each question on the script and knowing why it's important, understanding the response, understanding the conversation that question is designed to create. Okay, understanding each question is so critical. A powerful introduction that's effective for the lead source. As I was calling expireds, just in the 30 minutes that I did it, I got hung up on, and I got, people were just quick and they were abrupt and they were get off the phone. And so it just reminded me how critical my intro has to be with the expired. Like critical. But, if I'm calling the database past client center of influence, I could be super friendly and I could be super easygoing and it could be really a fun call, and I don't need to be all like really intense. A for sale by owner, you don't need to be intense with them. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you're all about. With the expired or the just listed, just sold, they're like in a rush. And you've got to like make a really good impression quickly. So each lead source, your introduction's a little bit different. Okay? How to ask each question on the script effectively. We've worked a lot on this, and for those of you that are newer, when we do live one-on-one role play sessions, I'm going to be working with you a lot on how you're asking each question. And do you have your pause? Do you have your upswing, or is it a downswing? Do you have a good, emphasis on this is a critical moment, right, versus this other stuff that's going on? We're going to work a lot on that skill. Intro objections versus big issue objections. So boom, when I was calling the expireds, I got an intro objection and I got a big issue objection right away, right? The intro objection was, we're not selling anymore, click, right? That's totally just a reflexive intro objection. Then I got we already got an agent that we're going to work with. That's more of a big issue objection. And I needed to really brush up my skills with both of those, because I got tripped up on both of those because I wasn't working on those two objections. So now I got to work on those two objections so that I'm like ready to go. Next time I hear both of them, it's just like boom, comes right out of my mouth. I know exactly what to say and how to handle that. Okay? With each lead source, there's effective closes. So, a close, let's say for a database, we're just asking for a referral and trying to collect a referral, just collect that information and pass that on. That's pretty easy. The close is simple. A close with a neighbor, a just listed, just sold, that's actually a little bit more tricky. Our closes, we're closing for the email address, which is critical. We're closing for the updates on the market. We're closing for a home evaluation report, right? We're trying to close for either a face-to-face or over the phone appointment, right? So we need to be effective with each one of those closes with the just listed, just sold. And if we're not effective with each one of those closes, we're going to lose a lot. You'll get all the way there, you go to close and you're all over the place, and boom, it falls apart. With the expired, there's a very particular close, because with the expired, I want to set an appointment like today or like tomorrow. Like I want one immediately with the expired. And so an effective close on the expired is, hey, you know what's funny? I'm looking at my appointment or my calendar, and I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow and this afternoon. Are you going to be around? That's boom. That's like a closed. Great. Well, are you guys available in the afternoon, early evening? I'm coming over now. With the FSBO, we don't need to do that. They would actually be turned off if you did that. So with the FSBO, I'm closing more towards the end of the week. Hey, you know what? Why don't we do this? I think I'm going to be in your area kind of towards the end of this week, around Thursday or Friday. Are you guys going to be around at all? And then the objection that the FSBO would give is, well, we're going to do an open house. I don't want to be at the open house. I want to meet them outside of the open house. Cool, why don't I meet you on Friday? Set the appointment for Friday. With the just listed, just sold, same thing. If you try to close too hard, too quick with the just listed, just sold, if you press now, well, you're interested in selling next, if let's say it was December and we were in mid-December, and you're like, and they say, well, we're interested in selling at the beginning of the year, and then you start closing for December appointment, that's too soon, right? So the just listed, just sold, typically you can set appointments for kind of 2 weeks out. Well, why don't we do this? I'll put you in the calendar for a couple weeks out. Are you looking at your calendar right now? Why don't we get, my boss to come out around this time 2 weeks from now? Do you want them just to, call you before they come over and take a look at your house? So it's a close out into the future. So you can see each lead source requires a different close. Communication skills required for each lead source. Critical. If you're talking to past clients, center of influence, the database, it's all high energy, it's all good feeling, it's all yeah, super excitement, super friendly. You're calling neighbors, yeah, we're doing some mimicking and mirroring, but we're really trying to create conversation there. If you're dealing with expireds, you're kind of on edge because they're frustrated, they're irritated. So you got to be able to deal with the frustration and irritation. And that's when a lot of that repeating and approval really, really pays off. Repeating and approval pays off big with the expireds. Right? So you can see each lead source really has some different stuff going. Building trust and respect and rapport. Critical, that's where all that mimicking and mirroring, recognizing the personality type, making adjustments for them. You can see how critical that can come down the pipe. Let's jump to the next thing. Systems, tools, resources. So, how's the phone number sources that you're working on? Are you effective with the dialer, or are you not effective with the dialer? Are you effective with the phone number sources and, the auto dialer? How's your follow-up schedule? I find that that's a big issue right now is we don't have an effective follow-up schedule or follow-up tools for all the great leads that you guys have generated. I know Melanie has generated like 60 leads already for Jason, but there's no follow-up process in place. That's a total disaster, where Liz and John Hoffmeister have created a very effective follow-up strategy, and that's why they're converting, right? CRM, how effective are you with your boss's CRM, with the CRM systems that you're using? So critical for us to be effective with the CRM. Your prospecting environment. Right? I just set up I have a separate screen. I have a stand-up desk. I'm going to have music going over here on this side. I'm going to have the mojo and all of this going. I'm getting a map of San Diego. I'm going to put it up, big map here, so I can be understanding the marketplace better. On my screens, I just got off the phone with one of my great friends who's a great prospector. He has 4 screens. He's got the MLS on one. He's got Mojo on one. He's got Google Maps on another. And I forget what the fourth one was. I mean, it was like crazy. But, his prospecting environment was like amazing, right? Headset, as we all know, critical. I just got this new headset and, it's so much better sounding. It's more clear. And that was kind of a big issue with a lot of you in the beginning was, the connection in the headset was so poor. We can't allow that in prospecting. It's already challenging enough to keep people's attention, let alone if they can't hear us and we're breaking up or if we sound distant, like that stuff just doesn't work for us. So, there's tools and resources. Okay, last one here, or not last one, but the second to last one is understanding the numbers and the ratios. So, on the lead source, do you know what the quantity of good versus bad numbers are? And, instead of being like, always like, oh, God, this is such a pain in the butt. Well, if I just know in advance that, let's say, old expireds, if I was calling old expireds, like, I might have 20% of the phone numbers are actually good phone numbers. 20%, so out of 100, that's 20. But if I know that going in, then I set the dialer for call 3 lines at a time, and I rip through as fast as I can. And then I'm not in this mindset of, oh, never get a hold of anybody. Really? Well, look, I'm going to probably get a hold of 4 to 6 people with the old expireds in like an hour. But those are such a high priority lead source with such a great outcome, it's worth it. But if I don't know the numbers, then I have a lot of hallucinations going on. Understanding your call to contact ratios is really critical. If I'm calling FSBOs, I can call 5 FSBOs and talk to 2 people. If I'm calling expireds, I have to call 10 people to talk to maybe 2 people. If I'm calling, my database, I can call 5 people and talk to 2. If I'm calling around listings and sales, it's like talk to 15 people or call 15 people to talk to 2. So knowing that makes it a lot more powerful going in. Understanding the lead to appointment is critical. FSBOs, we can set a lot of more appointments. As Chris has been going through the FSBOs, there's been a ton of opportunity. Just some of those FSBOs were in areas that I didn't want them. But like, it was like, appointment, oh, I got another one, I got another one, I got another one. Like, no big deal. Okay? So what's the best time of day to call a particular lead source? That is also critical in setting up your schedule, which is the next thing. Okay? How much opportunity per day, per week, per month of that lead source? This is really important. So, understanding each lead source. So if I'm looking at the expireds and I'm looking at new expireds, well, I was looking at the numbers of new expireds daily over the last couple of weeks, and it averages anywhere between like 10 to about 20 new expireds every day. That's not very many. But if we really look at just listed, just sold, we took, last year, I think there was like 25 listings taken. So, that's a couple per month. So how many is that moving forward into the future? How do I schedule that? How many FSBOs? Very, very few. Maybe like 1 to 2 a day for most of us. So wow, okay, so I've got 1 to 2 FSBOs, only 10 to 20 expireds. We've got the new listings coming in, not that many. Okay, well, what about the database? Well, they've got a database of 200 that I should call. They want me to call it 4 times a year, or 4 times a year. So how do I schedule that out? And so, when I understand how many come in, I start to get a much better sense of the schedule, right? And then, of course, tracking. As you guys know, the more nerdy you get on about tracking and understanding the numbers, the better you'll become as a prospector. And it's really about kind of business, it's really upping your game as a business professional. As if you guys have the goal to become, more of a business professional in the area of prospecting and lead generation, the higher you go up the chain, the more the numbers are everything. So, if you just plan on being a prospector for the rest of your life, well, then don't worry so much about the numbers. But if you plan on really moving up the chain in leadership, knowing the numbers, tracking the numbers is everything. Let's look at the last thing here. That was daily and weekly goals. Okay, schedule. We've got to really get a pre-designed schedule, right, that includes the lead source priorities. Okay, we've got to have, a balance of all of the lead sources into our schedule and kind of well mapped out. Right? We've got to spend enough time on each lead source. Well, if I'm going to really call some old expireds, I need like a 2-hour window. If you're going to do just list, just sold, you need like a 2-hour window, right? If we need to be able to balance out big time, all of you, kind of your admin time versus prospecting versus role playing versus taking a little mindset break, which you all should do, versus your reporting versus training. How does all of that fit into the schedule in an effective manner? Critically important. We got to be in constant communication with our boss regarding improvements to the schedule. And just to be in constant communication with them about that. And then let's go last thing. What questions and communications with your boss? Which is, what's a realistic goal for the first month with this particular lead source? See, that's critical, right? Even just with Chris, like I don't think she understood that, in her first month of calling Just Listed, Just Sold, she generated probably about 10 interested in selling into the future leads. That was fantastic. That was perfect. But I don't think we had that conversation that was the goal, and she achieved that goal, and now we just need to follow up with them moving into the future to create our results. Okay, but did we have that conversation? We didn't. I want to make sure that you guys do, because that's critical. You want to know if you're doing good or not. What's your goal for the end of the week? Right? Each week with that particular lead source, what would be a great outcome? In terms of time, contacts, leads, and appointments. You should definitely be asking your boss, how often do you want to role play with me? And let's get some role play going. Someone's got some feedback happening. Okay. What's the best way for me to hand over a lead? This is a critical question for you and your client. Okay. What systems do I need to learn to be effective? Obviously, for me, it was Mojo and LandVoice are critical. Skype, calling is critical. That whole combination is, and then I had Chris learn the Cole Realty Resource, so now she's effective with Cole Realty Resource, Mojo, and now LandVoice is coming on board. And then I have a new CRM system that's going to be coming on board in the next 30 days. So she's going to have to learn that entire CRM system because it's going to be critical to our success. Okay. How often should we review the schedule? Right. This is a question you want to ask your boss, because we might want to redesign the schedule more often to make it more effective. What are lead sources that you want me to become a master of first? Right? And then last one is, what else do you want me to learn so that I can become more valuable asset to you? What a great question. Right? So you can see, man, I don't know about any of you guys, but if your head is not spinning, then something is wrong here, because it's a lot of stuff. But let me just summarize in one thing. When you have some mastery over all of those things that are in there, you are a powerful prospector. And a powerful prospector is someone that can get on the phone every day and set a solid appointment, generate a couple great leads. And anyone that has that ability will make a lot of money. So that's the great news, is there is a huge financial return for you when you are able to just every day, boom, bang it out, bang it out, bang it out. I promise. It's just not there yet for most of you, or you just haven't had the conversation with your boss yet. But the more we open up this communication chain with your boss about results, numbers, goals, outcomes, right, in this whole process, you will become such an amazing asset to them. Don't worry. All the financial rewards will show. And even if you got no additional financial reward from this particular job, the who you've become, the experience and the skill sets and the mindset that you gained will pay off hugely for the rest of your life.